This is News Channel 20 at 10.
We begin with developing news out of Syria. The United States attacked a Syrian airbase tonight in response to a chemical weapons attack blamed on President Bashar al-Assad. Roughly 60 cruise missiles were fired from two warships in the Mediterranean Sea targeting the base. Now, the Trump administration hinted at military action against Syria. This was earlier today.
That's right. The president and top officials considered how to retaliate against President Assad for the chemical attack that killed more than 80 people. ABC's Maggie Rulli reports from Washington.
An attack on Syria. The United States rapidly responding to the Syrian government's suspected chemical attack on their own people. President Trump ordering the strike, a show of military might against the government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
There can be no dispute that Syria used banned chemical weapons, violated its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention,
firing more than 50 Tomahawk missiles at an Air Force base in Syria. U.S. officials say it was the same base where the plane carrying those chemical weapons took off. The strike happened just after 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time, and for now, we're told, this will be the only attack.
Tonight I call on all civilized nations to join us in seeking to end the slaughter and bloodshed in Syria.
President Trump had repeatedly argued against military action in Syria, but says these heartbreaking and disturbing images changed his mind, warning many of them are hard to watch. The chemical attack killed at least 80 people, many of them children. The Syrian government is accused of using sarin against their own people, something they deny. Russia is one of Syria's closest allies. During a debate tonight at the UN Security Council, they warned the United States against taking action in Syria. A U.S. official tells us the United States told the Russians about the airstrike in advance. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, Washington.
And Senator Dick Durbin released a statement regarding the Syrian airstrike, saying in part, quote, any further action will require close scrutiny by Congress, and any escalation beyond airstrikes or missile strikes will require engaging the American people in that decision.
Now to the state of Illinois. A stopgap budget was passed today in a Democrat-controlled House after hours of heated discussion.
News Channel 20's Esther Kwan has been following the story all day and has reaction from lawmakers.
This stopgap budget is called a lifeline plan, and it would give over $800 million to agencies that some say desperately need the funding. Democrats saying that we need to give these agencies money right now, but Republicans saying this is like giving crumbs to starving people. It's not very helpful and just a temporary fix.
So I think this is anything but a lifeline. It's more like a Band-Aid on the problem. I mean, the state is bleeding out right now. To give them a lifeline that gets them through 3 months instead of giving them certainty of a full year is not how we need to legislate, and Illinoisans across the state deserve better than that.
Well, it may be a Band-Aid. You know, when you are cut, you need a Band-Aid, something to cover the wound so that you'll have time to heal. It may be considered a Band-Aid, but Band-Aids are useful in our society because we know how it is to have a wound that just seeps out.
With the lifeline plan, nearly $260 million would go to human service agencies. Close to $560 million will go to fund higher education. Some Republican lawmakers are questioning where that money would come from.
We have $12 billion in backlog bills. We have schools who haven't received their mandated categorical payments. We have service providers who have been waiting for 2 years. And so for them to tout this as a victory is really upsetting.
Democratic leaders say it's money from two special state funds that are set aside specifically for education and human services.
It's not money that has to come in. It's money that is available and earmarked for human services. So to not give them the money that is available to them is irresponsible.
Several Republican lawmakers voicing their opinions on the floor, unhappy they weren't involved in the process of building this bill with the Democrats.
Our committee made sure that we sent an invitation to the House Republicans to participate with us, of which they declined.
This was dropped on us 24 hours, so even concerns that we had with the bill, we didn't have time to talk about amendments. We didn't have time to talk about some of our concerns with other people who are not receiving funding.
Governor Bruce Rauner today said that it's, quote, a failure to do stopgaps and that we need to have a balanced budget. The bill now moves to the Senate, but it could be a while before we see any movement on that because the Senate is now on a 2-week break starting today. At the Capitol, Esther Kwan, News Channel 20.
New at 10 tonight, the Springfield Urban League Head Start employees took to the streets demanding a fair contract. For over a year now, staff members who provide vital services to local kids have been in negotiation for a new contract. They held an informational picket ahead of the bargaining process, and members claim their employer refuses to negotiate in good faith, leading to unfair labor practice charges.
We're not just here for ourselves. We're here because we want to make a better program for the kids that we serve.
We are a program that respects our staff. We respect them highly. We want to make negotiations and fair rights for them to make sure that they have a place to work that they respect.
The Head Start staff has joined and was joined by community members during their informational picket.
Illinois votes. A new candidate has announced his bid for Illinois governor. Billionaire businessman J.B. Pritzker joins a crowded field of candidates ready to take on Governor Rauner. Pritzker told a crowd of supporters that he's running because everything we care about is under siege by the governor and President Donald Trump. The 52-year-old has been involved in politics his entire career, donating millions to Democratic causes and candidates.
Governor Rauner talks about what he might get done, or what he tried to get done. It's past time for all his talk. It's time for action. It's what I've been doing my whole life, taking action, and that's what I'll do as your governor.
Republicans say Pritzker is another Michael Madigan puppet who wants to raise income taxes. Now, Pritzker's bid for governor in 2018 means there will be at least 3 candidates who have enormous personal wealth. That includes incumbent Republican Governor Rauner and Chris Kennedy, the nephew of late President John F. Kennedy, who's also seeking the Democratic nomination.
Crime Watch now. 2 people were arrested this week after a police raid in Taylorville. Authorities used a search warrant Tuesday at a home located in the 600 block of East Market Street. They seized nearly 5 ounces of methamphetamine along with cocaine, heroin, and other items. 54-year-old Mary Scott and 62-year-old Robert Scott were arrested for possession of meth and cannabis. Continuing coverage of a Clinton man's death in an industrial accident. Investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the man's death at McElroy Metal.
News Channel 20's Brendan Cullerton shares the very latest in the investigation.
I'm outside McElroy's Metal, where employees were sent home for the day after the accident. The DeWitt County coroner says he believes the employee died from a pallet of sheet metal falling on him. The exact cause of that accident is still under investigation. DeWitt County Coroner Randy Rice says police were called to McElroy Metal just before 10 a.m. after an accident.
We understand that possibly a pallet of roofing sheet metal had fell on top of him and killed him at that time.
Rice pronounced the 57-year-old employee dead at 10:30 a.m. He is investigating the exact cause of the accident along with Clinton Police and OSHA.
It's unusual because we're a small county and we really don't have very many industrial accidents. Probably the last one was 15 years ago.
McElroy sent us a statement saying their immediate attention and concern is with the family of their employee and their employees affected by this tragic event.
Very unfortunate for the family.
There is an autopsy scheduled for tomorrow. The coroner is not releasing the man's name until the family is notified. Reporting in Clinton, Brendan Cullerton, News Channel 20.
And I'm glad to report the weather is improving across central Illinois. The winds have really come down quite a bit from what they were earlier today, and the clouds are moving out too. Here's our latest live Doppler radar. We are rain-free right now from Watseka all the way down towards Vandalia and all points in between. Still tracking our storm system that brought yesterday's round of rain. It continues to exit, and in its way we've got high pressure now building down across the upper plain states, and that's going to really provide some very quiet weather for us for the next couple of days. Our forecast for tomorrow, though, getting off to a chilly start at 32 degrees, but then warming into the upper 50s, very seasonable conditions, and we've got wall-to-wall sunshine for tomorrow. But I am tracking another round of showers and thunderstorms, and I'm also tracking a big warm-up. I'll let you know just how warm it's going to get and when that next round of rain is set to arrive. Your full forecast in just a bit.
Thank you, Cheryl. Coming up next, Senate showdown. Republicans say Judge Neil Gorsuch will be confirmed tomorrow after changing Senate rules to push the president's pick through.
Plus, how a sticky situation turned into a rough outcome for the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon. Donnie Tillman has your baseball recap, all your action ahead in sports.
And racing for the weekend, near perfect weather heading our way. Cheryl's going to tell us how long the warm temperatures will stick around coming up.